Okay, so I have a video to share with you, and it was 25 minutes long of this doctor, but I'm going to try and condense it as much as I can, but I'm going to link the YouTube video below because I think it's super important that you, if you have time, watch the whole thing because it is amazing information. But this doctor's name is Dr. Chidi, Chidi, last name Ngwaba. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that. But he talked about how almost every disease can be reversed. So he talked about how a lot of diseases are lifestyle choices, and we've talked about that. So a lot of it is stress, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, all lifestyle choices. And he said part of our system, when we're facing comorbidities, our system is so weakened that when we get something like COVID, he brought up, if you notice during COVID, a lot of people that were passing away from COVID was because they had other comorbidities that their bodies was fighting. And because their bodies are so depleted, their immune system, because their body is constantly fighting these other diseases, when they got COVID, it was fatal for a lot of people. But if you notice the healthier people that got COVID, they were able to kind of shake it off. Not really shake it off, it's probably a terrible word, but they were able to go through it because their bodies was strong enough. And so they were only fighting that disease, that virus. So he said a lot of what we can do for our bodies is simply to change our lifestyle. He talked about how most viruses are generated from animals. Over history, it's always come from animals. Even if it's in a lab, that lab got that virus from an animal. And he says, so the way to avoid getting a lot of viruses is to not eat animal products at all. He talked about heart disease. It's still one of the biggest killers. And you can avoid heart disease, he said, by just going to a plant-based diet. He talked about exercise a lot through all of these diseases, but he stressed plant-based diet a lot. And that if you do that, you can actually reverse your heart disease. He talked about high blood pressure. High blood pressure, again, go to a plant-based diet, exercise. He said high blood pressure is just the thickening of your blood because you're not drinking enough water. So if you drink water, it helps to thin your blood, and that way it passes through your arteries better. He also said if you have high blood pressure, eat a diet full of greens because greens has nitric oxide and it helps open up your arteries. And that way you have better blood flow to reduce that high blood pressure. Interesting enough, he said if you have erectile dysfunction, that you should eat a really big plant-based diet, especially greens, because of the nitric oxide. Because in Viagra, one of the ingredients is nitric oxide. So instead of going to medicine, just switch over to eating a lot of greens and it will help your erectile dysfunction. Cancer. He says cancer loves sugar, so eliminate the cancer. Yes, eliminate the cancer for sure, but eliminate the sugar altogether. Do high-dose vitamin C, high-dose vitamin D, and it will help kill off the cancer cells. He also said to spice up your life. So start adding turmeric to your food because turmeric oxidizes your cells and serves as an amazing antioxidant. He said add ginger to your food because ginger is anti-inflammatory. He said to add cinnamon to your foods because it lowers your blood sugar and it helps to fight viruses. Cardamom, I've never heard of that spice to be honest with you, but he says that's one of the spices you should definitely add to your diet because it makes more killer cells. So it increases your white blood cells that helps kill the cancer cells. Diabetes. Type 2 diabetes, he says, is absolutely reversible. All you have to do is change to a plant-based diet, to stay away from sugar and carbs, But a lot of what we eat has sugars and carbs, like we've talked about. So for a diabetic, when you're done eating and you put your fork down, get up and go and take a walk. Because what happens is you're using your big muscles, and your big muscles will start absorbing the sugar and carbs that you've eaten, and your body will start becoming more insulin sensitive instead of insulin resistant, and it will start lowering your blood sugar. Then he talked about autoimmune diseases. Autoimmune diseases is also lifestyle. He said a lot of what we're going through in our bodies can be solved by eating a plant-based diet and reducing our sugars, getting rid of it altogether. And that autoimmune disease is actually linked to infertility. So that if you go to a plant-based diet, you add vitamin D to your diet, get rid of milk, get rid of sugar, he said. In 9 months, you'll have kids. Anyway, obesity. If you have obesity, he said, get rid of all things white in your diet. Pasta, flour, sugar, white rice, definitely sugar. Get rid of those, and you'll start noticing that you start losing weight and that you start getting healthier. He says when a donut is calling out your name, he says use his trick, the Dr. Cheedy trick. He says don't say I can't eat that donut right now, because your brain is just going to want it more and is just going to start craving it more. Instead, say, I'm going to eat that donut, but not right now. I'm going to eat it in a half an hour. That way your brain thinks you're going to eat it, so it stops the craving. And he said to go and eat an apple, because an apple will release sugar slowly into your system. And as the apple releases the sugar into your system, you'll find that you don't want that donut after all. So always tell yourself when you're craving something that you know is bad for you, I'm not going to eat it right now. I'll eat it later. And of course, you don't eat it later. Dementia. He said that's one of the most feared diseases because people do not want to lose their memories. They don't want to lose who they are or don't remember the names of their loved ones. He said that you have to reduce the stress in your life. Stress, high stress, comes with dementia. He said, or long periods of stress, sorry. He said, so change to a right diet. One of the things that they found that helps reverse dementia was berries. So start consuming a lot of berries, and that will help with dementia. Barbara O'Neill also has a thing about dementia where if you drink a lot of liquid and it helps oxidize your cells and open up your cells, that also helps with dementia. You might want to look that up because it was pretty good. Depression. If you have depression, talk to other people, learn to trust other people and talk to them. Exercise helps so much with depression, he says. Also doing something for someone else, whether it's something small or little or big, because it takes the focus off what's going on with you so that you see that other people are suffering as well, and that will help with your depression. Also learn to forgive yourself and to forgive others so that you start healing. Anyway, I'm going to link it below. Also, real quick, a book share. Back to Eden. And it talks about all kinds of spices and has really great cookbook recipes in here as well. So when he was talking about the spices, it reminded me about this book. Anyway, I love you. God loves you. And the more I learn about our bodies and how it was created to heal, tells me how much God really loves us. Have an amazing, amazing day.